This is an expensive paperweight because for 3 years it just sat in a box, which is a great way of spending money and having nothing to show for it. And that is what starting feels like to a lot of creators. One day you buy your dream camera, the next you're held back by perfectionism. Which brings up a bigger challenge. How do you stop being your own harshest critic and start sharing what matters to you? Because turning a creative vision into a creative career requires more than cinematic color grades. And that is why I needed to talk with Ottilie. Her videos are quiet cinematic postcards that arrive just when you need them. But those polished, perfect postcards aren't the result of a master plan. In reality, her process is messy and built on years of deleted footage.
I'm just a very average person who happens to have some people viewing her videos sometimes.
And that is why it took her 3 years to hit upload. But then she learned how documenting her life helped her understand the lessons, why capturing mundane moments is so important, and how client work helped her overcome perfectionism. So let's look at the reality behind the content to see how she actually made it work. You are quote unquote a YouTuber right now. But if we take that layer away, what is something that you want people to know about you that explains where you are?
I don't know if people would do this with me, but at least when I watch other people online, it kind of always seems like they have everything figured out. Like they know exactly what they're doing and they've sort of made it, and life is kind of easy for them. And I think what I would want people to know is that I'm a very normal person. There's really nothing that special about me. I have the same struggles that everyone else has. It might not look that way with the videos that I post, but I live a very normal life with the same struggles everyone else has. Like it could be financial, it could be relationships, it could be friendships, it could be anything. But it's yeah, it's very mediocre maybe in a way, but that's okay. I think that's what life looks like for most people. But yeah, I'm not that different from anyone else, and that's probably the main thing. I'm just a very very average person who happens to have some people viewing her videos sometimes.
I find your videos very unique in the space right now because I always say they're like little postcards that you send out into the world. They come every once in a while and they share your perspective in a way that is uncommon right now, especially on YouTube, where everything is so optimized and it's just very chill, very quiet. You kind of explaining a thought or a process. And it does make you feel special, or it makes your life feel a little bit special. You are far north in a different world than I am, right? And one thing, what I can see in your videos is that you lived in many different places.
That's true, yeah.
How has that shaped what you do? How has it influenced your perspective on the world?
I think what it has taught me is that life is kind of the same everywhere, because like I'm a pretty deep thinker. I overthink everything quite a lot, and I think many people can maybe relate to this, that you have this idea that there is maybe a place in the world where everything just like magically fits together and everything makes sense, and you'll find the people that you resonate with, and just you can live your ideal life there. And as far as I'm concerned, you'll always have kind of the same issues wherever you are. Like we lived in Norway for a year and it was insane. It was so beautiful living there. The surroundings were just crazy. And it was really like a pinch me thing to be able to look out the window and see these beautiful mountains. But then again, we still had the same issues that we'd been having all along. Like we didn't have a huge community. We didn't have know anyone else who did what we did. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe the biggest thing it has taught me is that your life is something that you build, and like there's no external forces are gonna figure it out for you, maybe.
Is that search for community why you started your YouTube channel, or did you come to YouTube in a different way?
I came to it mostly because it had just been this sort of dream of mine ever since I'd been a little kid to do YouTube for some reason. That was always something I was really interested in. Um, but maybe somewhere deep down it has been also to find community. I feel like I'm a very guarded person. I'm pretty introverted, and like I said, I like to overthink everything quite a lot. And I don't know that I find it quite hard to make friends because I feel like I value really deep connections with people, and I find that kind of hard to find in the places I've lived up until now. Yeah, maybe deep down I've just been wanting to find people that relate to how I feel and how I view life. So maybe it's a mix of both, but primarily it was just, yeah, to fulfill this little childhood dream of mine, I guess.
When you say YouTube or making YouTube videos was a childhood dream of yours, is what you're making now different from that version of it, or is it quite the same?
No, it's definitely different. When I was, I mean, I've been watching YouTube ever since, I don't know, I was like maybe 8 years old or something. So I've seen all the sort of OG YouTubers and grew up watching them. Um, as a young girl, I watched a lot of makeup videos, and I thought that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to become a makeup artist at some point.
Hmm.
And then it kind of turned into more vlog style videos that I thought maybe one day I could do. And I think it has just really continued to evolve as I've grown up based on the content that I've watched. And uh, I think maybe one of the reasons I never really started was because it didn't quite feel true to me. I can't really picture myself doing makeup videos now, or even vlogging sometimes feels a little bit, I don't know, not quite my style. Um, so yeah, I think it has just it definitely has changed as I've gone older for sure.
So, what was the moment that you said, I am going to make a video and I am going to publish it? What happened there?
I had graduated college and I had been studying for 6 years at that point. I did a bachelor's and then I did a master's. And then it was like I couldn't, at that point I really like education was kind of done. I couldn't stretch that any further. And I just came to a point where I thought it's either now or it's going to be never because throughout the years I
Mhm.
kept telling myself I'm going to start, I'm going to start. I even bought a camera at some point, a pretty expensive camera that I like really couldn't afford. But I was just so I thought maybe that's the motivation that I need to just have it, and maybe that will make it easier for me to start. But I didn't actually post my first YouTube video until I think 3 years after that, so it didn't help at all. Um, but it was really just the fact that I had graduated and that it was either get a job, like a 9 to 5 job, or try this thing that I've just like it never quite it's always just lived in the back of my head and it never left. And I thought it would, but it didn't. And I felt like I really just owed it to myself to give it a shot. And I felt like that was the time for it.
So, did you work on one video for 3 years until you thought it was perfect, or did you just make a bunch of videos until you were like, I have to do it now?
No, I would like start filming things and then but it was never with any real concrete idea in mind of what that video would look like, and I would just end up deleting the footage. So it's kind of a shame because it would be fun to have that footage now and to see how I was back then, but I yeah, just deleted it out of pure embarrassment and I was just cringing at myself. I think I started making a video that is actually now on my channel um probably a few months before I posted my first video. So yeah, a lot of wasted footage, but it's okay.
But was there a moment that you overcome that perfectionism or that pushed you a little bit further to actually put it out there?
I'm a huge perfectionist, so I find it really hard to post videos in the first place. Like even now I struggle a lot. I'm super critical of myself. Um so that's something that I've never really grown out of. But it was really just this idea of I have to try this, and
Mm.
it's gonna be I knew it was gonna be hard at first and that I would be embarrassed and I would, you know, not really want to tell people about it, and maybe keep it a bit of a secret because I was just so, yeah, just cringing at myself and embarrassed. And I thought, God, what am I doing? What are all these people who know me from school and studies going to think of me? But it was just, yeah, it was just pure determination to actually do it. And I do think that that first, like posting that first video was like overcoming a bit of a barrier, because then something was up and it was like, okay, and now I'm just really gonna give it a go. So I think, yeah, definitely posting that first video was maybe the hardest video I've ever posted, because it took so long.
So was there a sense of relief after you published it? Did it make the other videos easier, so to speak? Or, you said you had these like kind of expectations, what other people think of you. Did any of this come true?
Well, I ended up posting it on my Instagram that I had published a YouTube video, which I was super scared to do. But actually, and I thought people would just laugh at me and I don't know, say things behind my back, and they very well might have. But I got so many messages from people that I didn't even know that well, that were just like acquaintances, that were like, "Oh, this is so cool! I'm so proud of you!" And this first video is so nice, and they were just being extremely kind, which I hadn't expected at all. Um, so that, I think that really gave me a little like boost of confidence, like, okay, maybe this isn't as embarrassing as I thought it was. Um,
And it's quite fascinating because you published this like quite personal video on a brand new channel, but from my perspective, it gained quite a big audience right from the get-go. Is that your perspective as well? And like, how do you think it found an audience?
well, I will say that my partner also does YouTube, and
Hmm.
he did mention in one of his videos that I was going to start a channel, and I had made a few appearances in some of his videos, so people were aware of who I was. And so the initial couple of views that it got were from his viewers who went over to my channel and checked it out. Um, and I think, yeah, probably that gave it a bit of a boost to for YouTube to kind of recommend it to a broader audience. So I do think, yeah, that played a huge role, and I'm super thankful to be able to have someone who did that for me.
I do want to get into the dynamic between you and your partner because you have quite different styles. But before we go there, I still want to understand a little bit better about what makes a video for you. Because like I said, they seem to come out whenever you have something to say, quite randomly, but I'm always excited to see them pop up. How do you decide what is a video? When do you make a video? Like, take me a little bit through that process from idea to actually getting it out there.
Well, I will say I am like, my process is very messy. That's also something my partner always comments on, that I need a better process because it's just all over the place. Because it can differ so much per video. Sometimes I walk around with an idea for months and just think, oh, this could be something I could maybe talk about, but I don't know. And then I forget about it. And then it pops up again like 2 months later. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should really make a video about this. Um, so it really changes a lot. I think first and foremost, it's always something that has been on my mind for at least a little while. And I will usually just start writing about it, and then from there, I can kind of gather whether I have enough to say about it to turn it into a video. Because sometimes I have like little phrases that I've maybe read somewhere or I've made up myself that I think could be worth expanding upon, but I'm just not quite sure how. And so they can just sit in my sort of, I have this page on Notion with my ideas. They can just sit there and live there for months at a time. And I might revisit them and I might not. But I think when I first started, I really just relied on my own thoughts and opinions. And now I've also started trying to read a bit more, trying to get some more insight from other people, because I think, I don't know, I kind of want to make sure that it's something that people can relate to. And I think the best way to find out if it's relatable at all is if there's other people who have written similar things about it. Um, and sometimes I also do a bit of social listening, if you will. So
Hmm.
whether that's like discourse online or discourse amongst my friends or my family with certain things that they're struggling with, and sometimes I have an idea and I'm not sure if it's relatable enough to make a video about it, and then I hear people talking about it maybe like months later, and I'm like, okay, so this is something that people are struggling with. So maybe I should make a video about it. So yeah, it's really all over the place.
But in one of your videos, or like in your videos, you often talk about documenting your life and that it comes quite easy to you. So are you just always filming and then when you make a video, you just like pull it together? Or do you like go out and specifically film something for the videos?
It's the mix of both. I think before I published my first video, I was filming all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually a lot of the footage that I still use to this day. And that was just like footage I just filmed for the sake of it, just because I thought it was cool or it was like a nice day outside or something. And now I do more often film for the video because I think sometimes it's easier to have it sort of reflect what is also being said in my narration. But I do still also try to just film things whenever I feel like it because I have noticed in my videos that I rely quite heavily also on archival footage
Mm-hmm.
from my own life. So it's just so important for me to have this whole bank of videos that I can pull from.
And your videos have a very cinematic quality to them. Do you learn that somewhere? Did you go to school for that? Or is that completely self-taught?
It's yeah, pretty much self-taught. I think it the fact that I have been playing around with the idea of making videos for so long has definitely helped me become more familiar with how to work around filming and different angles that I liked, and also just from watching YouTube. I think I'm a very observant person, so I think I can kind of I don't know. I kind of picked up what nice angles are or what nice lighting is, and I think that's mainly how I just taught myself, just kind of observing and trying things out by myself. And I'm still learning. I'm still always wanting to try new things because there's so many cool little gadgets you can buy to create really cool shots. It's just a matter of figuring out which ones are actually worth it.
Are you mostly filming by yourself or are you and your partner constantly filming each other?
I mostly film by myself, and then whenever I need someone to actually like whenever I need movement in the shot, then I will ask him, but I mostly do it myself. Yeah.
What I find so nice and fascinating to see about your channel is that, and listening to you as well, like you're not trying to over optimize every aspect of it, which is quite a common thing now. Or like there's all this like best practice advice. And I look at your channel, it feels like, oh, she's not doing any of this, but it's still working. And I find that really good to see.
I mean, yeah, I agree. And that's also something that me and my partner have talked about quite a lot because he's more on the sort of, I don't even know what you would call it, like Mr. Beast adjacent type of content that he
Mm-hmm.
watches. And so that's the kind of thumbnails and titles that he's used to seeing, and
Mm-hmm.
also just the general structure of the video. And that's not at all the content that I enjoy watching, even though that might work and is like kind of a almost guaranteed or proven way to really make your videos work in a way. It just doesn't feel true to me at all. And I've kind of I'm on a different side of YouTube where I watch people like Life of Riza and Isabel Page and people who are very much more cinematic, and their titles are they're not YouTubey at all, and neither are their thumbnails. They're just like it's just nice. I think I'm really happy that it worked out for me because many times my partner has told me like maybe you should try to optimize it a bit more or apply these rules for the thumbnails and the titles and whatnot. Um, but it just doesn't feel true to who I am at all, and I'm really happy
Mm.
that I have found a way to make it work because it's hard. I think because yeah, he always calls my videos very artsy, and I think if you are gonna go in the more artsy direction, it's quite hard maybe to stand out.
Do you find it quite difficult to resist this pressure or to, take advice from those voices? Or do you understand your lane and just like know what not to pay attention to?
I think when I first started out, I did think about those types of things more often because I had videos that didn't do well at all. And then I thought, okay, maybe I do need to change my strategy and I do need to be more sort of YouTube-y in a way. But now, where I am now, I think I'm fine just doing my own thing. Um, I think it's been showing to work. So yeah, I don't see a reason to question it really. And I I don't think I feel that pressure so much just because I just don't resonate with that type of content. So I don't think it just doesn't feel like I should concern myself with it. It's kind of like this, what is this saying, where you shouldn't take advice from people whose life you don't want or something like that. There's this, I don't know exactly what the quote is, but I'm kind of more thinking in the sense of I'm not going to take their advice on how to make a video if their videos are not at all the type of videos that I want to be making, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. And that's, I think, very good advice. Yeah.
Mm.
Do you and your partner have a lot of conversation about YouTube and like the shoulds and should not, or are you trying to like keep work and life separate?
I mean, we do talk about it a lot because it's just like a big part of both of our lives. But I think because we make such different types of videos, it's kind of like we can give each other some advice and we can give each other opinions, but we can't really give too much advice because I don't know that much about his side of YouTube and he doesn't know as much about my side of YouTube. So
Mm.
we've kind of reached a point where it's like, okay, I don't make those types of videos, so I'm not sure what the best approach would be for this, but here's my opinion and do with that what you will. I think there's definitely like general advice we can give each other on when it comes to putting the video together and building a story. But when it comes to like things like titles and thumbnails and video ideas, it's a bit more difficult. But yeah, we definitely talk about it a lot and we probably could benefit from talking about it less, but it's just such a big thing for both of us that it comes up quite often.
But you don't just like, hey, can you look at this thumbnail? What do you think?
I do. At the very beginning, I had a pretty bad habit, or I don't know if it's bad habit, but I would always ask him to watch my videos, give his opinion before I posted it, and then help me come up with titles and thumbnails, and kind of relied quite heavily on that second opinion of his. And now I don't really do that anymore. I might ask for his opinion on a title that I've already come up with or a thumbnail I've already come up with, and see what his preference is, but yeah, definitely not as much as I used to.
Now, the other thing that somebody might wonder if they come across your channel is that it is a fairly small channel, but you still have sponsors on your videos. Is that something that you like actively pursued? Did they come to you? How did that come together? Because I think a lot of people who get those like 30, 100,000 views on their videos are struggling to get sponsors. I'm kind of curious, how did you make that happen?
The first few sponsors that I had, they came to me directly. Um, and not long after that, I had someone reach out to me who manages a couple of creators. So she manages me as well. And so she does all of my outreach and or just responds to people who approach me. And for the most part, actually, with the majority of the sponsors I've done so far, it has been because they have approached me or they have approached my manager.
Is it affecting the way you make videos, or how often you make videos in any kind of way?
I think how often, probably yes, because I've noticed that I unfortunately work quite well under pressure. So whenever I have a sponsor in my videos, it means that video just has to go up. And if there is no sponsor in my videos, I can tweak it forever and I can find reasons not to post it like forever. Um, and so maybe in some ways it will allow me to post more often, but I don't really want to go down that route because I don't want that to be such a big factor for me. I want to be able to post whenever I have a video and not have that. I want to learn to be able to just post whenever a video is ready and have a video be ready and good enough and not continue to tweaking it all the time. So
And is there an overarching goal that you have with these videos, or is it more about just sharing your experience with the world?
it's a lot about sharing my experience, but I think there is a bit of a goal for people to maybe or hopefully just remember, I don't know how to put it, but just remember how like rare it is that you are alive, and that like, cuz I don't know, with the society we live in, it's just everything is, it's kind of laid out for you in a way. You go to school, you get a job, you start a family maybe, and then you retire and you do whatever you like. And um, that consumes so much of our lives. And I think I want people to remember to like appreciate it along the way, and to remember that you have free will maybe, and that you can do things a little more unconventionally, and that it's okay to do that if that brings you joy.
Is making the videos helping you notice these things or be more aware to make these choices?
For sure. Like, I think the videos are sort of advice slash reminders for me as much as they are for other people, because the things I talk about, it's not like I am amazing at doing those things either. They're also just something that I really want to actively work on and remind myself of. So yeah, it's a bit of both. And I think especially as I am working on a video and I'm writing about it and I'm thinking about it all the time, that's when I think I learn the lesson that is talked about in the video the most. Because I start to realize like, okay, this is actually so important to do or to realize or to think about. And yeah.
Maybe that's why they feel like almost just like a journal entry.
It could be, yeah.
The big question I still have is YouTube what you do? Or is there something else that people are not aware of?
I don't do YouTube full time. I am a freelance video editor and video producer as well. So it's at the moment kind of a 50-50 split.
Mm-hmm.
I think in an ideal world, I would like to pursue YouTube full time, but at the moment, that's just not, it's not at that level yet where I can do that. And I think it's kind of a mixed bag, because I probably could make it work full time if I posted more often and more consistently, which I at the moment don't have time for because I choose to still do freelance work. Because I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube is a very, it's like financially insecure. Like it's not that stable of a job, because things can change all the time and your views can fluctuate and your rates can fluctuate and things can change. And just the nature of, I think, working in social media, it's just quite uncertain. So I like to have the stability of my freelance work because it just guarantees uh like income, and YouTube isn't as reliable yet, I think. Um so it's, yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a point, and kind of have been at a point for a while now, where I should probably choose either one, because doing both is like maybe not the best idea, but I don't know. I find it hard to cut that cord and say I'm really going all in, because yeah, it's a bit scary. It's a bit uncertain.
It is a big step to take. It's a big leap of faith to take because, like you said, everything is changing all the time and it could lead to the outcomes you want or it could go into a completely different way. But what I'm curious about is when it comes to your own videos, you said you're quite perfectionist and you take your time. I don't think you have that luxury when working with clients. How is your approach different between those two projects?
I find it so much easier because I, for the most part, I just get sent material and I have to make something with it. When it's my own footage and when it's my own narration, it's like, first of all, I have the power to change it, so I can change
Mm-hmm.
it as much as I like. I'm super critical of myself specifically, but if I receive footage from a client and narration from a client, that's just what I have to work with. That's it. So there's no changing it. There's no reshooting things. There's no redoing narration or anything like that. It's just I have to work with that. And because it's not me in the video or in the narration or anything like that, I'm not that critical about it, because to me, I think like I really overthink the way people perceive me and the way they hear me. Um, and then when I edit for other people, I'm like, yeah, everything sounds fine, everything sounds good, so it's not that deep. um, yeah, I don't know. I just find it so much easier because there's no second guessing really. I think it's hard to put a video together and like listen to your own voice all the time and like seeing your face on the screen. It just gets, you start to pick apart absolutely everything. Um, but that's probably something you only have when you work on your own things.
You definitely start noticing things about yourself that nobody else is seeing, and you think it's so obvious.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. For sure.
yeah. Do you think there's a way for you to take more, like hire yourself as a client, essentially?
I think that's going to be something I will continue to work on all the time, because I think it's so important. And I think in a way my own perfectionism is holding me back as well, because if I could just be a little more, a little more flexible and just have a video be good enough instead of perfect, because it's never going to be perfect, but it's going to be good enough at some point. And just accepting that there are going to be little flaws and little things that in an ideal world maybe I would have changed, but no one is really going to notice it. Because that's also the thing I try to keep reminding myself of, is when someone watches my videos, they don't know, they don't like, they just see it for what it is and not for all of the other ways in which it could have been. Only I know that. So I view it with a very different perspective than people just seeing it for the first and only time. Um, and I think that's hard. So I want to try to just accept that it's never going to be perfect and get better at that, but it's hard.
That's a very good point. That you see all the infinite possibilities this could have gone, and the viewer just sees the one version that you said this is good
Mm.
enough.
It's hard, but yeah, I think it's really important to remind yourself of that. In my previous video, I was going to upload it and I had a copyright issue on one of the songs. And I spent so long trying to find another song, because the first song I had just fit so well with the
Mm.
whole segment, and I just couldn't find anything that was going to replace it. And it really was like eating at me that I just couldn't find the song. And then at some point I thought, I am the only person who knows that there was a different song in the first place. Like, no one else knows this. No one else is
Yeah.
going to care or notice it. I just need to like find a song, put it there, and just let it go.
Is there something that we haven't touched on that you want to share with people?
Well, I don't know. The one thing that comes to mind now is that if this is something you want to try, there's no thinking your way through it. You just have to do it, and uh, you will figure out what your place is eventually. But the only way you can do that is by actually just starting,
Mm.
unfortunately.
And if you think of a person who is in this messy middle of having videos out there and like being pulled back and forth between all the things you should do and all the things you want to do, what would you tell them?
There are definitely videos that I've made where while I'm editing, I get really excited about it, and I'm like, oh, I love the way this is flowing and I love the way this is going. And I think you should chase that feeling, and you should make sure that you are excited about what you make and that it feels true to who you are. And I think it's good to experiment and try new things if you want to, but you should also think about the sustainability of it. Because if you're going to
Mhm.
do something just because people say you should do it, is that really going to be sustainable for you in the long run? Are you going to be able to keep up with that if it's not like really in line with what you actually want to do?
It's often harder than it seems to just trust your instincts.
It is, yeah.
If you think about where you are now, what does success look like for you?
I don't know. I feel like for many people, when you ask them what success is, it's about money and about having a big house or a cool car or something. I don't really care about stuff like that. I just want to be able to live my life the way I want to and have the means to do it. But that doesn't mean it has to be anything major. Yeah.
If you made it this far, you're probably also trying to figure out how to be an artist in a world full of influencers. And if you're still worried that you're too quiet or too shy, you have to meet Ariel. She's a self-described nerd who crafts costumes and croissants and found success. And in this conversation, you can see how she turned her messy process into a full-time career. I hope to see you there.